Hi from beautiful Colombia, South America. My name is Nana, and I am a solo retired expat here in the Eastern Antioquia region of Colombia, which encompasses Rio Negro, Llano Grande, El Retiro, La Ceja, and many other small pueblos. It's an absolutely beautiful region, and I urge you, if you have not seen any of my other videos, to take a peek. I have lots of information on how to move here and all about life here and why I love it so much. The topic for today actually is a Q&A. And sometimes YouTube creators will have live Q&As. This is not. This is pre-recorded. What I did was I took note of the predominant comments that I've been getting over the last few months of my channel being on YouTube. And I compiled a list of what I thought were the most common questions and the most interesting questions posed by you. And hopefully this video will help give you a more well-rounded idea of what it's like to move here and live here. I'm often asked what the temperature is like here typically, what the climate is like, and I'm just going to give everyone just a quick overview of the climate here and really how to determine climate anywhere in Colombia and in most places of the world. First and foremost, it's best to realize that Colombia is a topographically diverse country. So what that means is you have a number of coastal areas as well as interior areas that are at sea level. And then you have mountainous regions with the Andes Mountains going through the entire country. I happen to live in the northern Andes, and here, the higher you get in elevation, the cooler the temperature. So Medellín, for instance, is a city at 6,000 feet. It's about 30 to 40 minutes from where I live. And I am in a region that is at about 7,000 feet. And my particular apartment is up a mountain road, even higher. So I'm at 8,000 feet. And I'm a few degrees cooler than in town and a lot cooler than in Medellín. So that's something that's easily researched. If you're thinking of coming to Colombia full-time, you can look up the history of weather, the overall climate. One thing about Colombia is it's very close to the equator. So whatever you find is going to be similar year-round. You just don't have the difference of winter and summer, for instance. My area is generally anywhere from 67 during the day to about 74, 75. Keep in mind that on a sunny day when it's 74 degrees out, again, at a high elevation, that sun is strong, so you really feel the warmth of the sun. Whereas a 74-degree day, if it's cloudy or rainy, it will feel more cool. I also get questions specifically what community I live in, meaning what housing, development or community, in addition to the exact town and spot on location. And I really wish I could share that, but I'm sure that all of you realize I do have to take some safety precautions. After all, this is the internet, so I don't disclose my exact location. And that's the reason. I'm not trying to be elusive in any way at all. Even though I've done a video on this subject, people ask me often, because little Petunia is in most of my videos, and that is, can I bring my dog to Colombia? I have an entire video on the subject, so look that up. And yes, you can bring a dog or cat to Colombia, and depending upon the airline, they have certain weight restrictions for being able to go with you in the cabin versus being cargo. And I'm not going to go into all the details of bringing your animal in, but it's fairly simple. But as I always say, use an expert with everything that you do. When it's something important like that, bringing your little fur baby, have someone help you to make sure you have all the documentation, all your ducks in a row. And I'm more than happy to give you all of that info. Just book a one-on-one consult with me. I can give you all the context that you need for that and anything else in coming here. One of the most common questions I get are visa questions. So what I thought I'd do today, even though my concierge, Julie Franco, did an in-depth interview with me and went into all the types of visas, I am going to mention just very briefly whether or not you are able to come to Colombia. First and foremost, if you are not of retirement age, the longest you can come to Colombia for on a tourist visa is initially 90 days, and that can be extended another 90 days. All of those 6 months do not have to be taken consecutively. They can get split up. But again, the longest you can come to Colombia as a tourist in a given year is 6 months. There is also a digital nomad visa. With that, you can stay the full year, and then that's renewable for 1 more year. So the longest that you can be a quote unquote digital nomad in Colombia is 2 years. And what does digital nomad mean? Well, that means that you have a job either online in Colombia with a Colombian company, but most people have it with a company in their home country. You have to be able to prove that you have that income on a regular basis, and then you're allowed to have a nomadic life here for up to 2 years. That's a great, great benefit for young people because they can, for instance, make US dollars, what they're currently used to making, have a wonderful 2-year stay in Colombia, and enjoy all the great things there is with life here at a fraction of the cost, on average about a quarter of the cost of their life in the US. So they're able to save all of that money for 2 years. And oftentimes they move on to another country because a lot of countries have digital nomad visas. So they just continue to travel the world, and what a wonderful and exciting way to do it. The other type of visa, and there really is only one other unless you're dealing with a marriage situation to a Colombian citizen, that is an M or migrant visa. And with that visa, there are really only 2 that apply, again, unless you're in a marriage type of situation. And that would be a retirement visa. And that means that you are on Social Security from the US or some type of pension from another country. Right now, the income requirement is a little under $1,200 a month. And that qualifies you, as long as you can prove it, that you get that money. That doesn't mean odd jobs here and there. That means a pension or Social Security of around $1,200. It's a little bit less, but we'll round it up to $1,200 or more a month. And then you can come to Colombia, and 5 years doing that, then you have your residency. The other type of M visa that's very popular is an investment visa. And that means that you invest a certain amount of money in the country. So you either start a business, or what's most popular is buying a piece of property. In my case, I bought an apartment. There's really no advantage to this visa versus the retirement visa. You can get either one in the case that you're retired and buy, let's say, a home or an apartment. That's fine too. And it's the same 5-year criteria in order to obtain your residency. Now, this is something I get asked quite a bit, and that is, how did you downsize? Was that hard to downsize your life and move to Colombia? Well, everybody has different personalities. I mean, you go from someone like me that tends not to like clutter. I'm like borderline OCD. I like things all neat and organized and be able to find things easily. So I don't retain a lot. I did put all of my family photo albums, which I had boxes and boxes of, in digital format. And I gave a lot of stuff away and sold things before I moved to Colombia. And you can ship pallets, you can ship containers. There's so many options. I don't recommend shipping a container unless you have really valuable furniture that you don't want to part with, because it's expensive to ship an entire container on board a ship to really any country in the world. And because the cost of goods is so inexpensive in Colombia, and furniture, for instance, is considered one of the most beautiful things in all of South America that you can get is furniture that's made in Colombia. And it's literally pennies on the dollar compared to what you pay in the US or Canada. So letting go of my furniture, giving it away, I sold a lot of it, was not hard for me. As you see behind me, I have beautiful furniture. Most of it was custom made right here in my local town. And I'm just so happy with it, the quality, the selection of fabrics, everything, that I was able to take the money that I made for used furniture and buy all brand new furniture. And I think I had some change to spare after all that too. Next question. Will you be okay if you don't speak Spanish? Well, the answer is yes, you'll be okay. Should you learn? Absolutely, yes, you should learn. Do most people speak English in Colombia? No. Colombia was more culturally isolated over the decades until about 20, 25 years ago when tourism started and people from other countries like myself became interested in moving here. So with that, there really wasn't the reason for people in Colombia to learn English. So again, English gets learned in countries like all over the Caribbean, for instance, French, originally French colonies, Dutch colonies. Most island people, when you travel to those Caribbean islands, speak English. Why? Because tourism for so many years, and now with the cruise ships, oh my goodness, is a vital part of the culture and the economy there. And that hasn't been in the case with Colombia. So it doesn't mean that Colombia is backwards. It just means they had no need to speak English. So with that, yes, it is important to learn some of the language before you come. Learn nice things to say, nice greetings, compliments, where you're from, why you love it in Colombia, those types of things, really helpful. And then, of course, the obvious, like, may I have the check, please, at the restaurant, or how much is that if you don't see a price tag on something. And just always remember in Colombia, manners are very formal and very important here. So everything I say always has a thank you, por favor, or a please, every single time. Very, very important. Having a smile and communicating and trying goes a long way. In fact, it goes all the way in Colombia. People will love you. They will love you even if you pull out your phone and use Google Translate. But you'll especially get an endearing smile if you attempt to communicate with them and respect their language. Keep in mind that learning a new language, it takes time. And also keep in mind, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, it is hard moving to a country. Was it a deal breaker for me, moving and not speaking Spanish? No, I'm a problem solver. So I had issues when I first got here, and I still have issues. If I need to make an appointment somewhere and I have to do it with a phone call, I can't do that in a phone call without even seeing the person and knowing exactly what they're saying and they understand me. I just can't do it. So I try to use WhatsApp, which is an app here that's so popular actually all over the world, but it's a form of calling and text messaging, and all businesses and private people in Colombia have it. So I try to communicate that way, so it's easier for me to translate it than just having a telephone conversation with someone. I've run into glitches where my Chrome browser won't translate a particular web page. It has to do with a bill, utility bill, or my banking. Some little part of it's not translating. Then you just ask someone to help you. I've made great friends with all my neighbors, and I have been stuck. I had my bank actually, they decided that my PIN was not going to be good anymore. It was just a security thing. I hadn't done anything wrong, and that I needed to set up a new PIN. And there were all these prompts in this bot type of text messaging system that we all know, even in the US. And I was trying to follow it, but I wasn't doing it right. So I ended up asking a neighbor, and they were able to do it for me. Now, this is a very good question. And, you know, it's hard for me. I tried to, in the beginning, for the first 100 or so comments, my channel's getting huge, by the way, but for at least the first 100 comments, I try to actually reply and comment back. But this is a particular question that I get that's very hard for me to give a brief answer. And that is, what can I, not me, but the viewer, what can I expect my cost of living to be if I move there? Well, I can't answer that because first, let's just look at where. Even in my general area, which again is Eastern Antioquia, there's so many different price points. Oh my gosh. I mean, you can rent a one-bedroom apartment for $500, or you can purchase a $3 million, yes, $3 million US funds home, which is probably worth $30 million in the US, but that's the gamut. And so just like in so many places in the US, I mean, you have different neighborhoods, different price points, all sorts of things go into that equation. So just the cost of living for housing is a huge diversity. So I can't really answer that. Another reason why I do the consults, because in a consult, you can explain to me what your lifestyle is, what you like, what you're looking for, whether you're thinking of renting or owning, and then I can make suggestions of areas that will suit your budget and furthermore suit your lifestyle too. That goes into the equation, right? So what is it that you like to do? Maybe you want a state-of-the-art luxury clubhouse with an immense gym, gorgeous heated pool, indoors and outdoors, all these things. That's going to cost more than a more modest situation where, again, you're in a condo, there's a small pool, a small gym. So we have to keep these things in mind. They're all relative. Some areas are extremely remote and not close to public transportation. You could be out in the middle of nowhere somewhere, and then you would have to budget in a car. Most places are serviced by public transportation and also serviced by Uber, which, by the way, is a fraction of the cost of Uber in the United States. And you have taxis as well, which are very inexpensive. But that needs to be put into the cost of living equation as well. I don't know what you like to eat when you go to a restaurant. I'm super budget minded. I love all food and I love Colombian food. And so I'll go out to lunch and I'll spend $5, $6 total for everything. 3-course meal, beverage, the whole 9 yards. Could I go to a restaurant and spend $20 for lunch? Yes. And that's still a fraction of the cost of what it would cost me to go to lunch, especially on either end of that spectrum. But to go to a fine dining situation and have a drink and appetizer and an entree or soup for $20 at a fine dining restaurant for lunch, no, that wouldn't happen. So again, you have that diversity in Colombia. Same thing with furnishing your home or apartment. You can keep prices down, or one of these days I'm going to film, there's a furniture store, it's all leather, called Puero, I'm probably butchering it, I'm sorry, but it's the most beautiful showroom, oh my gosh. And the leather is like butter, I mean, just unbelievable. Still much less expensive than if you went into a fine leather furniture store in the US. But, again, if you priced yourself to luxury top end of everything, it's going to be a totally different cost of living than for somebody that's budget minded. And you can have something super nice and still be in your budget. So my main point with this is there is enormous flexibility here. There's something for everyone. I happen to live in one of the highest end areas of all of Colombia, and it's still affordable for me. I live on less than my Social Security, but for most Colombians, it's considered high luxury. So let's say with you, you have no savings, you have very small Social Security. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're in the highest end area in one of the most high end housing communities. Don't do that to yourself. You always want to have a cushion. And if you're completely priced out of this area, oh my gracious, just drive another, 10 miles away and prices drop in half. There are other regions of Colombia that are so much more affordable. And again, this is more information that I can give you if we actually have a conversation and can talk back and forth, and I can help direct you into what I feel is the best option or options for you so that you have a happy and stress-free life in your move to Colombia. And speaking of cost of living, I do get asked what my typical grocery bill is. I tend to be more frugal. I don't buy a lot of US products. I don't need to buy US products. I love the Colombian brands. I love the granolas. I love the cleaning supplies. I even love their mayonnaise and their barbecue sauce that's made in Colombia. And by the way, there are a bunch of different barbecue sauces, and there's even boutique ones that are made. I get this one, oh my gosh, it's got some zip to it. Has a picture of a scorpion on the front, but it's not that hot. But it's made right in Medellín. It is so good. So, you just got, if you're on a budget, you just explore all the wonderful things that are made here, and you can eat really well. And obviously you have all incredible fresh produce here, and meats, poultry, fish, all of that for just a mere fraction of the cost of what it is in the US. But for me, since everyone was so curious, I never spend more than $100 a week on groceries. And that includes having some sundries in there. I may, for instance, need that week some household sponges, some toilet paper, a thing of dog shampoo for Petunia. I mean, just, there are odds and ends. We don't always just buy food. So, but, again, $100. And like I said, I don't spend much to go out to eat. So maybe 10, at the most $25 a week in going out to eat. So, really my cost for food is very, very low. Now, a lot of you that watch my channel are at retirement age, and rightly so, thinking about the long term. What would happen if you're not able to 100% take care of yourself? I thought about that. I'm fortunate because I know if the time comes someday and I'm not able to take care of myself, I can return to the US if I want to and live with one of my adult children. But in the meantime, I'm super happy here. I'm comfortable. And if and when that happens, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. But I do know that some of you don't have family. And with that comes just a lack of a sense of security, and wanting to have that option for long-term care is super important. So what I can tell you that most people do that move here is they opt to have a live-in if they get to the point where they can't do their shopping, they can't take care of cooking, cleaning, just the basic things. Even if it got to the point with bathing, just not, super medical type of procedures, but just basic home health care, that is literally not much more than the cost of a maid. And maids are very, very inexpensive. They get paid close to minimum wage, which is nothing. So to be able to retain your independent life, to not be in a nursing home or even an assisted living type of facility, to me is worth its weight in gold. And having that option there, as long as you have enough set in your budget, if you're coming here and you have excess, put that excess money away for a rainy day, and you know that you always have the income that can afford it. When you need it, it's there for you. And yes, they're starting to build more and more facilities, and that's a decision that you would have to make. And they are, in fact, at a fraction of the cost of what they are in the US. I get asked a lot about medical care here and health insurance. And I promise I have planned with my favorite insurance agent to conduct an interview to give you all a lot of details on insurance in general, not just health, but also auto and home, everything. But in the meantime, I just wanted to touch on it a little bit and let you know what I have done. I have Medicare A. I right now still have B, and I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it or not. I really don't need it, but I had it through the end of this year, and I may or may not drop it. And the reason for dropping it is because with my visa, I also got the Colombian medical system insurance, which only cost me, around $50 a month. I can't remember the exact cost, but it's based on your income and it includes everything. It includes hospitalizations, doctor's visits, and most copays are only around $2 per visit. So very, very inexpensive. Some people take out private insurance on top of that. I won't go into all the details, but that would give you more rapid access to a specialist, a private room in most cases, as opposed to a shared room in a hospital. If you want to pay a bit more, I mean, you absolutely can. I just have the basic insurance, and then I right now have my Medicare in the US. But again, I'm probably going to drop that fee. Now we're on to a heavy question, and I had to think about it a little bit, but it actually was the first thing that came across my mind. And the question is, what was the hardest thing for you in leaving the United States? Well, for me, that was leaving my 2 adult children and my grandson, who's now a teen and starting high school. But that was hard emotionally. I also knew, though, that I could no longer afford to stay in the United States. I wasn't at the point in my life where I felt the need to move in with my children, and nor I just wouldn't want to put them through that. I don't want to be a burden, and I want to still have freedom and enjoy having my independence while I still can. So here I am. But emotionally, yes, it's hard. I did pick Colombia because of the proximity to where I live in the United States, Florida. It's a 3-hour and 15-minute flight nonstop from Medellín to Fort Lauderdale or Miami. So that was a pivotal reason that I chose Colombia, just because I could visit Florida as often as I like. The only restriction I have on my visa is that I have to spend at least 6 months, not consecutive, but at least 6 months out of each year until I get my residency in Colombia. So I can go back a lot, and it's not a problem whatsoever. So on to the next question. What do I miss most about the United States? Well, of course, there are, certain snacks and things that they don't have here, but they have peanut M&Ms, which is my favorite. They have Reese's and just about every candy bar known to man, and inexpensive, less expensive than the United States. So as far as treats and snacks, I'm perfectly happy. I do miss certain shopping experiences. I'm like a TJ Maxx, Marshalls, and Home Goods fanatic. Not that I can't find great stuff here, but I do miss, getting a cart. Petunia would go in the cart with me. I'd bring her little dog bed in from the car, and she'd be at the bottom of the cart, and we'd just peruse the aisles and try not to spend too much money, but always get bargains. So I miss that a little bit. And probably the thing that I miss the most is just the ease of doing things. Because again, I am not that well versed in Spanish yet. So when I have an issue, like I brought up earlier, like with the banking or on a website or just anything that requires finesse of the language, I'm handicapped. But I can tell you something. I don't let it get under my skin. Why? Why ruin the happiness that I have every day here? It's important to have an attitude when you leave your country and you adapt to a new culture. There's obviously going to be changes and things that aren't easy. But you know what? When I put these things in the scales, or should I say this way? When I put those types of things in the scales, the slight irritants or things that are hard to get through, they're like down here, and the positives of living here are like up like this. Well, I'm not going to let this little stuff ruin my day or my week or my entire life here in Colombia. Every place has its pluses and its minuses. So yes, the general ease of use. I must say that in Colombia, it's very typical, like with bill pay, like on the websites, paying my electric bill, for instance. I would say half the time I go to do it, the website won't take my money. And I don't know why. I know I'm not doing anything wrong. And Huli tells me, oh, that's just how it is in Colombia. You just try it later that day or the next day, it'll be fine. So for a very progressive country, I must say that websites don't always fully function. They sure look really high tech and state of the art, but sometimes they're just jammed up and you just have to be patient. And you know what? Again, I just let it roll off my back. I had a time literally for 2 months where I couldn't pay my water bill. And my community now uses a different, high on a mountain, so it's some other aqueduct company, and they're far away to go and see them in person. Of course, I can't call them on the phone. I don't know what's going on with the bill. And they don't have a local place. Most bills you can pay even in a supermarket or at your bank. No, this is some obscure company, and I couldn't for 2 months pay my bill. And then Huli said to me, well, it's probably going to be 3 or 4 before you're even charged a late charge. So you know what? I just let it go. And so it was on month 3, I was able to pay my bill for the previous 2 months. No big deal. And I just went ahead and paid it this month. No problem. It went right through. So again, there's certain things that just happen here, and it's just part of it. But is it worth moving out of the country because I have hassles like that now and then? Absolutely not. Having things that are quick and easy, super fast, I miss it sometimes. I mean, there are times when I'm just tired and I would just love a drive-through. But again, there's so many great places to get food. Is it that big a deal to park your car and go inside and get something to go? No. And there are a lot of restaurants that deliver as well. So not a big deal, but I tell you, the whole drive-through experience, I'm not a big fast food person, but from time to time, super easy. Or I would just do the app for Panera, for instance, back when I was working, and just pull up in Panera. It was already prepaid. Well, some of them have the drive-throughs now, but then I would just go inside, and then there was the little, boxes, like a bookshelf, and my bag would be there with my name on it. Just grab it and go home and eat it. So those kinds of things I miss a little bit, but it's really no big deal. What else do I miss? The things I'm bringing up just seem so trivial to me, and they're just really kind of silly. But the other thing I miss is the big, giant parking lots. Sometimes, well, with malls and things like that, the major stores I've shown you, no problem finding parking. But the smaller tiendas and mercados and things, there's not always parking. So I keep driving down the road. There'll be a roundabout where I can turn around, go back and look again. And sometimes I'll have to do it a couple of times to find a place to park. That's actually similar in big cities in the United States. Finding parking can be hard. So occasionally that happens, but not a big deal when I get to that mercado and I'm buying an avocado for 20 cents. So, again, you just weigh it out, and I can deal with not tons of parking every place I go. What else? Well, people often ask, is it hard to make friends when you get to a new country, and particularly Colombia? I had absolutely no trouble at all. I don't seem like it, but I'm actually an introvert and like spending a lot of time alone, as well as doing small social things for sure. But I found the people so welcoming, particularly my neighbors. I first was living at a friend's home while I was in the process of purchasing my apartment, and I got to know all the neighbors there. They all came up to me. Having a dog, by the way, walking a dog is one of the best ways to meet people. I don't think I would have met as many people as fast as I have there, and then also when I moved into my community here, where I own the apartment, if I didn't have Petunia. I mean, people just walk by. Everybody greets one another in Colombia. You don't just walk by them on the street and look down. No, you greet, you actually get involved in conversations all the time. So that was super helpful for me to acclimate. And I also joined every Facebook group I could in the Medellín area and also in Eastern Antioquia, here where I am. And there were some groups that I found better than others. So certain ones I ended up participating in, and others, they just weren't for me. But a wealth of information there. I've explained that before in other videos, but also a great way to meet people. Most of these groups have an enormous amount of get-togethers, whether it's at a restaurant, it could be a musical event that's happening in the parque in town. In fact, there's one in El Retiro on Saturday night, so there'll be a bunch of us getting together to go to that. So there are so many ways to meet people. You just have to set your mind to it. But again, me being introverted, I made so many friends so quickly, I cannot even tell you. And that's particularly with the Colombian people, because they all want to have you over. I have them over. It's like one big happy family where I live. And not just my building, but in my whole community, I've met people and become really close friends. And because I am not Colombian, they always take me places. They'll say, oh, I'm going to such and such. Oh, you have never been there before? Oh my gosh, you've got to see this place. Come with us. We're going tomorrow. Now, this question I get is slightly what I would call a poke type of comment, but rather than being worded as a question, it's a statement like, you're not an expat, you're an immigrant. Or why are you calling yourself an expat, not an immigrant? And I'll tell you why. Expat is short for expatriate, and it does not mean that you're Xing out your patriotism. It simply means that you're opting for a new lifestyle in a new country. Immigrant means that you have the desire to move your entire life and become a citizen of that country. I have absolutely no desire to become a citizen of Colombia. I want to live here. I don't even know if it's the rest of my life. I am not coming here as a young person trying to build a career, start a family, all of those things. So I differentiate. I don't consider myself an immigrant. And for those that want to try to control linguistics, I can tell you it can't be controlled. So that nickname of expat for expatriate has been used for decades now. It's a common term. It's here to stay. It has absolutely no derogatory meaning, and a lot of people use it, and I don't feel bad about using it. And I also have a YouTube channel, and most people that are looking to, in their close to retirement years, to possibly leave the country they're living in, say the US, Canada, France, and move to another country, if they are looking up something on YouTube, they're probably not looking up immigration to Colombia or to South America. They're looking up Colombia expat. And that's another reason that I use it. So that's what happens with language. Certain terms get used. It's not a bad word. It's not putting anyone down. It's not saying that I'm better than an immigrant immigrating to another country. Yes, it is still immigration, but I happen to use that term, and no hard feelings to anyone. This question goes back to language, and I've had a lot of people ask me what is the best way to improve your Spanish when moving here. And I don't have an exact answer. And the main reason for that is there are all different types of learners. My daughter is a teacher, and so I learned this from her. Actually, I learned it when my children were growing up. There are visual learners and auditory learners, those that listen and learn and those that look and learn. I am, and especially, you can tell I'm in the art business, I'm into things visual. I learn in a visual way. I took French, for instance, for 12 years. I don't remember a whole lot because it was so long ago, but I was taught in such a way that it was less conversation, a lot of reading, a lot of writing, a lot of studying, like either with flashcards or just general homework, where whatever that word was that I had to learn or that verb was that I had to conjugate, I wrote it out and I had to memorize it. And then it would be on a test where I'd have to write it out again, or the teacher would call on me and I'd have to say a sentence and conjugate it with that verb, for instance. So that's how I'm used to learning, and that's how it retains in my head. Now, for me to have a tutor, and I did, that is strictly conversational, I was learning at a snail's pace. Why? Because we took on some new conversational type sentences, even if it was a verb, and we used that verb the entire hour. Well, with no follow-up of any type of homework, flashcards, writing, coming up with sentences, and seeing in writing the full conjugation, I need it. I need to be able to say, let's say the word is to go. It's I go, he goes, past tense, I went, he went, and plural. I mean, all just so many different steps to it all. But when I learn a verb, that's how I need to learn it. So I've had a hard time with the apps because they're really hit or miss, multiple choice, ba-bing, ba-boom. Yes, they're visual, but it wasn't enough intensive study, and I don't need to handwrite. I can also do it digitally, but I've got to actually see the word, type the word, write the word, hear the word over and over and over again before it sinks in, and again in full sentence structure that way too. So I am asking you all, because I have looked and I have not found a course that's more traditional like that, where I can have a teacher online that I can actually have lessons, but that teacher has a workbook, and it can be digital, flashcards, those types of things, something visual, something written, something that I can read for every single lesson. And then what I want in the next lesson is maybe the first 15 minutes of an hour lesson, I want to review what I did before. Because the type of personality that I am, I will study the entire, whatever it is, few days or a week till my next lesson. Why? Because in the first 15 minutes, I don't want to get any less than an A. So whatever that material is, I'm going to know it inside and out. Over and over and over again, I'm going to go over it and test myself. And then 2 days later, because my short-term memory is starting to go, I'm going to test myself again. Like, oh, I forgot that one part of that conjugation or whatever, and do it again and again and again. Because by golly, when I have that next lesson and it starts with that review, I'm going to have it perfect. And that's how I learn. So if anyone knows of a tutoring system where I can actually have a live tutor and have homework, that would be great. Unfortunately, because Petunia is really old now and I have the YouTube channel, I can't go to a physical school location because that would help as well, but I'm just not able to do that. So does anybody know about that online? Please add that in the comments. I would really appreciate it. Here's another deep and philosophical question. I always love these. What's one thing Colombia gave you that you didn't know you needed? I would have to say simplicity. And I'm not saying that in a trendy, minimalistic way, but really in a deeper sense, with fewer distractions, fewer decisions to make, and just living life in the moment and taking it all in, having constant gratitude, whether it's the gorgeous nature that surrounds me or the warmth of people. As I've said, my friends, my neighbors are also wonderful, but just everyday life, just from strangers. I feel such contentment from other people. And when other people are projecting that to you, you can't help but absorb that. It really, truly, heals all wounds of the soul and generates an overall presence that's filled with a light that shines. I feel like I have a light inside me now. Not that it was not there before, but it's almost like it didn't have time to shine all the time before. I was very much aware of it, but at times I was so caught up in all of those distractions and all of the busyness of all of those keeping up with things, that I lost a true sense of what's important. And I feel like I have that back. I've oftentimes compared being in Colombia to becoming a child again, to having that innocence, having that freedom, having that, I don't know, a child will just stare at a bug and be totally amused. I'm not big on bugs, so that's not the best analogy, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, just the tiniest little thing. Being at the beach and there's all this great ocean, there's walks to make and everything, and your 2-year-old is just fascinated by a few little grains of sand in between their fingers and how they move and how they can take those grains of sand and drop it into their hand and then maybe pick it up and drop it down onto the beach and all those little things. I feel like so much more aware of all the small stuff. There is just so much more in the ordinary things. And it's not just me, it's everyone around me participates in this, celebrating the ordinary, celebrating the everyday. And I just love that. I've been asked this question too. What do you think most people misunderstand about moving abroad? I would say the biggest misunderstanding is that moving abroad means that you're running away from something. Yes, I'll be honest, I was not necessarily running away, but I could not afford to have a good life in the United States anymore. But I don't see that as running away. I see it as running towards something. And I was running towards something far more than just the monetary aspect of life. This journey was towards a wholeness, a oneness in myself, a lack of worry, a more carefree life, a time to appreciate what was around me and, quite frankly, appreciate myself again. I found all of that in moving to Colombia, and that's true in moving to many countries. And just simply having some variety in your life. I mean, some people find security in that. There are people that live their entire life in their small town, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it because there's a beauty in everything, but not having any travels, not having much adventure, and it comes time for retirement, and they've saved and saved, and they could take trips or they could move to another country, but they feel more comfortable on the lazy boy watching TV every day. Well, you know what? If that's what makes you happy, fine. I want to have a rich and fulfilling life. I've always felt that way. When I raised my children, I wanted it to be the most incredible time of my life, not only for me, but obviously for them too. And I made sure of it. And each stage, I remember there was a book, I keep meaning to get a copy of it. I remember my mom reading it and loving it so much. It came out in the 70s. It was called Passages, and it had to do with the passages of life. Well, obviously, I'm in close to, if not already in, that final passage of life. And it's a very important one to me. I mean, my golly, this is the last one, right? So why not go out with a hurrah? I don't want to have any regrets. I want to have lived my life full of love and full of experiences. What to me is most important is an experiential existence, really. Because if it's just following the rules exactly, staying in one's cocoon, never having any change, I would say that someone with a life like that they're at the end of life, probably some things that were crossing their mind were, gosh, I had that opportunity to do that and I didn't. And I didn't do this and I didn't do that. Well, I didn't do it all, but I must say I'm not going to have a lot of regrets. I will be thinking I've had just an incredible life. And I've had the love of my children and my grandson and my love of them and my friends. That's all been there. And oh my gosh, the experiences. This world is super big and there is so much out there. And it is so fulfilling to experience as much as we possibly can without going into, overdrive. and burning out. But I'm enjoying my time here. I'm having the time of my life. And for any of you who are considering a move abroad, I encourage you, do your research, give it a try. It's not the end of the world if it doesn't work out. But my gosh, I don't think you would regret it, because the experience would be eye-opening for you. It would be exhilarating. And it's a memory. Oh my gosh, memories are so important. It's a memory that you'll carry for the rest of your life, because that's what we take when we go in the end. It's all those memories. That's what we leave our loved ones with. That's our legacy, really, are the memories that we leave them. So let's all think about having and creating those rich memories. Well, here's one for you. What's the best thing that you gave up in leaving the US? I would have to say that's the illusion of control. I used to think that if I planned enough, worked enough, saved enough, that I would feel secure. I was like, remember the Little Rascals? I remember they would be in that cart, and I can't remember who was pulling the cart. I think it was a little donkey or something, and there was like a carrot in front, and that got the donkey to keep going on the cart with the kids in it. And yeah, my life sort of felt like that donkey's life. I was always like walking towards that carrot. It smelled so good. I wanted it, whatever that was. I had no idea. I mean, it was so close yet so far. And I kept going and walking to utter exhaustion to try to get to that carrot, and I never did. But true peace for me really came when I let go of that illusion. And coming to Colombia allowed me to do that. I don't chase that carrot anymore. Now, what about money? Has living in Colombia changed my relationship with money? Absolutely yes. First and foremost, it's taken the fear of my finances away. I feel completely comfortable. I feel like I have enough cushion. I feel like if some sort of disaster hit, as far as health or whatever the case may be, that I would be able to withstand it. And so I'm much more relaxed here. So that relationship with money, I actually equate to a sense of freedom. That's what I have here. I don't have the constraints of money, but I have the freedom that's associated with money. Money, after all, is an outgoing and an incoming. It's a flow. And oftentimes we get caught up in, do I have enough incoming? Do I need to work more to produce more to come back to me? Am I doing enough? Am I doing enough? That's such pressure. And for me, I know I have a certain amount coming in from Social Security. I know it's more than enough to live on. So absolutely, yes, I have a different relationship with money. The cost of doing things, even little splurges here, big splurges here. I don't have buyer's remorse. I never have guilt with anything that I do here. So yes, I have a completely different relationship with money. And lastly, I don't feel the need to spend money in order to make myself happy, if you will. I'm not big into shopping here. And in the US, we're bombarded with social media, advertising on television, stores that look absolutely wonderful, smell absolutely wonderful. Not that they don't here in Colombia, but you know what I'm saying, that shopping therapy where you just want to go and shop till you drop. I used to go to the outlet malls. It's hard to go to the outlet malls and you're in your favorite store and they have that sweater in every color and they're all stacked perfectly and you got to get a couple of them. And you feel better by doing that. You get home and they just smell good, they look good, and it's like a shot in the arm of happiness. I don't really feel that here. I don't feel the need for that here. There are other things that give me that shot in the arm. It's being out in nature. It's going just to the grocery store and seeing the fresh vegetables that are there. Oh, that's different, or I haven't seen that fruit before. I'm like a kid in a candy store anywhere that I go. It's just exciting and fresh and new. But that's just basic, food shopping and things. I don't feel the need. There are fancy malls here and everything, but I don't feel the need to reward myself with that sort of thing. I'm just super happy in just living life here. Now, this question I had totally on my own. Nobody's asked this, but I thought it was an interesting one to ask myself. And that is, do I still feel ambitious? I was ambitious most of my adult life. Do I still feel that way here in Colombia? Well, not in the old sense. I'm still driven, but not by external success. I'm actually motivated strictly by impact now, for instance, with this channel. And that is what I'm doing having a positive effect on other people's lives. Whether my channel is a success, so to speak, or not, is not my driving reason for doing it. It's for making a difference. I've always said that I started this channel wanting to create everything that I wish I had when I embarked on looking into moving abroad. I wasn't finding all the answers I needed, especially when I narrowed into this region of Colombia. And I wanted to provide anyone that was thinking about coming here with answers to all the questions that I had, including visual ones. That's why I do the imagery in town. And that's why I do these intensely deep conversations with you that I'm having right now. And I'm sorry if I get a little heavy, but that's just how I am. It's like I was searching. I was so thirsty. I was so thirsty for just the full enchilada of information. And so that's what I'm trying to give everyone. And does that mean that I'm driven? Well, yes, but again, not by what society is telling me I need to be successful. I don't sit here and think, oh, I have to have, what do I have? Like, I think right now at this moment, close to 7,000 subscribers. I'm not setting goals and I have to have 15,000 by such and such date. If not, I have to reanalyze my algorithm and stuff. No, I'm just doing this from my heart. I'm doing what you're commenting on and saying that you still need. And this is a work in process. It's a labor of love, actually. So am I ambitious? Yes, I'm ambitious to help other people. I'm ambitious to enlighten people what a rockin' great place this is that I live. And it's not fake, it's real. I absolutely love it here. I feel like I have found this gem of a spot, and I am so grateful, and I want to share it with everyone. I really appreciate everyone watching, and I just love reading your comments, so don't forget to drop me a line. I learned so much. I do retain what those questions are. We've addressed so many of them today, and I just love communicating with everyone. If you want to dive in deeper, I do expat consultations. Those are one-on-one video call with me. My expert concierge, she does consultations as well. And I also conduct private relocation tours here in this part of Colombia. And all of those links are underneath the video in the description. So everyone, in closing, here's to living your very best life for the rest of your life. Bye for now.